We'll start our meeting by reading the message called Selfishness by Enlightened. In family, it is the exclusivism of blood. In the home, it is domestic narcissism. In the workplace, it's the spite. In transient property, it's the ambition of unnecessary possession. In the culture of intelligence, it is intellectual vanity. In ignorance, it is aggressiveness. In used wealth, it is the spirit of usury. In poverty, it is destructive envy. In maturity, it is the resentment. In youth, it is ingratitude. In atheism, it is impiety. In religious faith, it is intolerance. In joy, it is excess. In sadness, it is isolation. In the strong, it's tyranny. In the weak, it is cunning. In their affectivity, it is jealousy. In pain, it is despair. In its own mimicry, it uses the most diverse masks in every sector, and the chaff that chokes the wet also appears in the hearts that the light already congratulates, in the form of anger and irritation, discouragement and dryness. If we wish to combat the plague of selfishness in the area of the soul, let us be able to extend our dispositions of greater service to our neighbor each day, and learning to yield ourselves between humility and sacrifice for the good of all. We will conquer with the Christ the fullness of love that has converted the cross itself into resurrection for the eternal life.
Dear God, our Father of love, who created all of us, dear Jesus, our Master, we are here today together once again to embrace ourselves with your teachings, to study the God's laws in order to understand a little bit more about God's love, about God's will, and about what's down to us to make the choices in a better way, in a more responsible way, in order to achieve our goals in this reincarnation. Spirit benefactors who are here with us today, involve all of us, incarnate and discarnate, with the blessings, with grace, because we are joyful to be here. And in this way, we ask the permission to start in the meeting of this afternoon. So be it.
Welcome everyone here today once more, ourselves and all of those brothers and sisters in the Spirit who are also joining us in this journey of studies which we are engaged all with the blessings of the Creator of everything and everyone, which is God, our Father, merciful and loving. We are all students of Spiritism, or students of the natural laws in the universe, where we are currently studying the Spirit's book on the chapter Moral Perfections. And we are studying for some weeks about selfishness. We understand as immortal beings as we are going through the journey of evolution, carry on our existences, our experiences, and we are, let's say, invited to overcome our own shadows so that we can, let's say, enlighten ourselves and evolve in this process of progress. Selfishness is a shadow that brings great pain to us when we don't address it, if we don't look at it. But as we are studying, we can free ourselves from that and also choose to perfect ourselves, because we are immortal beings, beings essentially of goodness, imperfect, perfecting ourselves. This is the stage where we currently find ourselves. And we carry on question 916, okay? That's the one that we move on then. So in that way, we carry on the question 916. It is quite big, this question. So let's go through and read it. Far from decreasing, selfishness increases with civilization, which seems to excite and entertain it. How can the cause destroy the effect? So now that we are reflecting on the question, how could we reframe it according to our own understanding, according to our own words, which could also help others who are studying with us to understand it? What is the question about, or what is the question referring to?
I think because it took me a while to understand this question, I didn't understand last week. But when I was reading at home yesterday, what came to my mind is because civilization is a result of progress, but I think it's most of the time it's a result of intellectual progress. So how does it stimulate selfishness instead of decreasing it?
Okay, anybody else?
Like when they start saying far from decreasing, selfishness increases with civilization. So I was thinking about we are very far away from the point that we will be able to uproot, as they were saying before, the selfishness. And then understanding where we are now, that we have got full of selfishness, how can we, understanding that also civilization is good because it's a sign of progress and development of the human species. However, it also increases the selfishness and the individuality. Not individuality, but the selfishness. So how can the codes destroy the effect? So trying to understand in the point that we are, how can we not destroy but overcome the selfishness?
Okay, let's study with what the enlightened beings are telling us. And they are actually giving us a lot to learn, to reflect, to help us. Because of course, we still are at the beginning of our journey, so we still have plenty to reflect on. We start gradually. They start by saying, the greater the evil, the more heinous it becomes. How do we understand the first phrase? We go through gradually, then it's easy for us to follow our thinking. How do we as immortal beings understand that first phrase? The greater the evil, the more heinous it becomes. What do we understand by evil? Ourselves as students about the natural laws in the universe, what and how do we define evil?
The good news.
What?
I read in the Spirit's book that evil is also ignorance. But is evil only ignorance? In the sense that, I know it's in the sense that we don't know about God's laws, but has it to do with something with intention or not?
Well, we study about selfishness, isn't it? And this information is under the chapter about selfishness. I wouldn't believe that it's just regarding our ignorance. Evil, it refers to the question in the Spirit's book regarding the good and bad, isn't it? We all have been created by God, simple and ignorant. We all bring the natural laws within ourselves, so we all know what is right or wrong, or what is evil and what is not. What is evil? Everything which is against the natural laws. In other words, every movement, every action, every thought, every feeling, every word that goes against God's laws. And that could be through ignorance, and also then we are reminded, but we have been created by God with the laws and we know that within, so why do we not remember that? And then is another question when the enlightened beings tell us. Is true? Who remembers it? Why is it? Because we don't remember?
Because of our personal interest, or because we have told?
Because we forgot it or we ignore it. Ignore it. We ignore it through our personal interest, through selfishness, through pride. So it's not always ignorance. No. I think what we hear and learn, if we are a bit humble, we don't need to be much, and if we study what the teachings of the enlightened beings refer to, but the majority of us on earth, we already know. But when we come back, we choose to follow different routes. So it's not always different. Is or are our intentions or motivations based on previous experiences which we carry on our unconscious level, which is still when we are in the flesh, in the material level, that prevails in terms of tendencies. And our choices is still, let's say, they are stronger on the ego level almost and on the self level almost. Is that clear? Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, we move on then to the next phrase. It has been necessary for selfishness to produce much evil in order to make you understand the need to uproot it. How can we understand that? When the enlightened beings refer to us, it has been necessary for selfishness to produce much evil in order to make you, us, understand the need to uproot it. Why? Why is that? Because they are referring to us, yeah? And why is that?
I think it comes to what we always learn. We have two ways of learning, through pain and through love. If we don't choose the loving way, or it will be through pain. So we have to get to the point where we suffer a lot because of our selfishness and we would desire something else.
Yes, precisely, yes. So when
When they say much evil, and then I was thinking about like it's a lot of mistakes or a lot of things like against what was, and sometimes I seem to say just through pain that we will realize that we need to make changes. And then studying the law of the destruction was saying that the calamity sometimes happens because the progression in which happened in centuries happens quickly. So it's the same as here. If we have, sometimes we need to realize it through the pen, and then these motivate us much more quicker to make the changes, or we motivate us sincerely to make the changes, which without that, we wouldn't make it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can we move on? When human beings have been freed from the selfishness that dominates them, they will live as brothers and sisters. Are we looking forward to that stage? What do we understand under this phrase? When human beings have been freed from the selfishness that dominates them, they will live as brothers and sisters. Who can explain to me what the benefactors mean when they say, when human beings have been freed from the selfishness that dominates them?
Telling us that our selfishness dominates ourselves.
So the selfishness is dominating me.
The level of selfishness is related to the level of, let's say, material influence we still have. I think we're in when we was commenting, we said that. And I think selfishness is also when we have no consideration for the other being. And when, for example, we see it's I think it was Daniel Goleman that said, when we see, like, for example, me and eat, we see the other not as a person, as a human being, but as a thing that I just use as I wish. In all relations, could be in a family, could be with friends or workplace. So I think when we get to the point where we start seeing the other as not eat as not a thing, but as a human being, then we'll be starting to develop this feeling of brotherhood or fraternity.
Yes, the brotherhood, when they say here, we have been dominated, they will live as brothers and sisters. Between lines, we are reading that we are learning to live fraternally amongst each other. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? They will not wrong one another and will mutually help one another through the fraternal sentiment of solidarity. So what is that teaching us? Or what can we learn as learners, as we all are, about the virtues?
I asked myself a lot of questions when I was reading this question, because I thought, what does that mean? does it mean that we have to like engage more in volunteer jobs, or does that mean, what does that really mean?
I think I was thinking about that as well. And for me, we not only think about me in the choices that we make, but think about others. So, for example, at work, I would considerate the people that work with me, and I would be a little bit more kind when I ask something. I would think about someone else or my colleagues at work before my manager talks about him or her in a bad way. On the street, I would like to worry about the planet and the people, and because nowadays you see a lot of homeless on the street, but no one is stopped to look at the person. I'm not talking about giving money, I'm talking about looking to the person, giving good morning, good afternoon. People just should pass through. Even if the people that is asking for money for other charities, on the street, people pass through them without like no one is there. And then, like, I would consider it more the people that lives around me as a brothers and sisters, and no as a each thing or no one.
Okay. Let's go back. They will not wrong one another and will mutually. Let's just stay with that. They will not wrong one another. In which way we, immortal beings, can wrong one another? In the family. Let's start where is the first place to come back to earth. How can we do that?
By demanding too much?
By demanding too much of our children, or of our parents, or of our partners. Yeah?
Yeah, people are couple fighting for little things.
Yes, be aggressive or be demanding or be irritated with simple things and not having patience with the wife, with the husband, with the child. What other examples can we have in doing wrong with each other at home? Being dishonest? Yes. Lying. Take advantage. What else? Not cooperating. I just want to be lazy. You do the job, yeah? Is that existing these days? Yes, it is. No respect one another.
Abusing about the relationship, about just in order to get whatever I want.
What did you say?
Abusing,
yes. Yes. And when we are very selfish, that is very easy to be done.
Yeah.
As more selfish we are, more we could be abusing. We are more dominant in the relationship or in the family.
I think it does not matter how are we gonna do. Matter if I get it. So the way that I'm doing does not matter. So if I'm being abused or not, I don't care because I just want to have something.
As more selfish we are, because selfishness refers to which dimension in our beings, the psychological, the emotional, or both.
I think both.
Yeah, but also referring what you said, as more selfish one is, more we are also shut down on the emotional level. We become indifferent. Therefore, doesn't matter what price I get what I want at home, in consideration of the other, as long as I get what I want. But as more as we evolve, that becomes conscious to ourselves, and we choose to change that. Any other example, family life, that we can do wrong to each other?
When it's coming back to what Cynthia said, is not seeing the person as a each, but seeing a person as a human being that got sentiments, that got emotions, that might be hurt with something that I say or how I say. And then I would have more consideration because it can be common or become common just because you're living together for so many years, just don't care the way that I'm saying to the person. So and then destroy the relationship because the partner or the other one would be so hurtful because of the way that I'm dealing, the way that I'm treating, the way that I'm living with that person.
Another example that came to my mind is not to be loyal to the other in a relationship, not to be faithful to the others in the relationship as a partner, yeah? Any other example? Okay. Then we move on to the next. They will not wrong one another and will mutually help one another through the fraternal sentiment of solidarity. How do we help mutually one another at home? Why did you laugh, Satan? I don't understand.
By being patient.
By being patient. What else? Cooperating, be flexible. To do the jobs that the other doesn't want to do and I'm asking to do, so I choose to be humble and go and do it because I'm doing it for myself instead of fighting. Because the focus is the harmony in the family and not how much you do or how much I do.
I would say that.
Because sometimes it seems that we come from a linear mind, yeah? 2 plus 2, I do 2, you do 2, otherwise we are fighting. No. Who is the best one? Who is the more evolved one? The one who demands more or the one who loves more? Then we have the right math, yeah? I went through in which way to be wrong one another at home. Now let's look a bit broader. How can we wrong one another in workplace? By gossiping, slander, intolerance. I don't want to cooperate, that's your job, not to do with that. What else?
I think lying as well.
Lying, be dishonest, not working 9 hours. I pay for 10 hours, but I just go 8. I arrive late, I leave early, I'm full of rights, but I don't want to consider my duties. I'm not punctual on time, neither with my tasks.
I think lazy is very important because sometimes I can do stuff in 3 hours, but the way that I do, and that's okay. Today I'm going to be lazy and then I'll do the work in 5 hours. Taking more time to do something that would be quicker to do because I don't want to do more stuff.
So that is laziness. That is procrastination.
Yeah.
That is moral laziness. What would the Spirit, us, learn if we have 3 hours and I can do it in 1 and who choose to do more? What I'm developing? Being proactive, what else? Being dynamic, what else? Be responsible, what else? Conscious. What else?
And being
Wise.
Precisely.
Precisely. What else are we developing?
I think responsibility.
Responsibility, precisely in relation to what?
Relation to what is down to me to do in my duties. I know that I'm able to do in 3 hours, but I'm going to be lazy and do it in 5.
In relation to myself, responsible in relation to myself and God, because it's always between me and God. Responsible in relation to the time that is not mine, is God. I'm so selfish that I think the time is me. I'm administrating it. But the time is God. I'm moving within it against His will. Because He didn't create me. He didn't give me any opportunity for me to be lazy. Can you see how it responds? Also, the discipline, we are also conquering in being proactive, in being responsible. We are really developing in essence the virtues. And we are missing the opportunity when we choose to be lazy, we choose to give excuses, and we laugh like little children, when we should be taking advantage of the possibilities that we are facing.
Let me come back to mutuality. Mutually, thank you. Because, for example, it can be at home or at work. Everyone has got your bit to do, right? For my stuff to do and my period or my week to do my duties and stuff. And the other person does not do that on their duty. I do understand to don't be demanding of forcing or being rude or being so demanding to ask the person to do. However, we have our responsibilities as well, and we live in society. So, how would it be the way that you said that do more instead of fighting, but as well being responsible of dividing equality the duties?
So what is being responsible when we share a house? Where does that responsibility start?
With me.
We share a house. If you are parents, the parents have the responsibility to delegate the task to the children, according to the age, according to the capacities that they have, yeah? If you share a house as adults, which is quite normal here in London, what do we do at the beginning? Set boundaries. My responsibility when I move in, take responsibility, get aware. What are the boundaries? Or if I have a home, that is my responsibility to set them very clearly. The boundaries, who does what are the rules. The rules are nothing more than boundaries. Ways that we all live together, that we live, let's say, in a sociable way. But will that always apply equally to everyone? Let's imagine the house has 7 people. A bit exaggerated, but let's say. Everyone is developed in the same way. All 7 children of God, do they have the same understanding? No. So we come in, we have the clear boundaries, we set up for how we work, how we function, which week is my duty to do this, to this, but people do it in different ways, don't they? So after that, sorry,
we might need to adjust depending on what group.
Precisely. Adjust in which way?
Finding better ways to get the things done.
Precisely.
One group, everyone might, for example, might love cleaning the house. The other group might prefer to get a cleaner.
Precisely. Precisely. And also, firstly, we need to learn to adjust within. Because when we are very demanding and critical, we have very difficulties to relate with us. Because people do it in different way. Let's say, one clean it in one way, the other cleans it in a different way. So if I live together now, within 7, and I want everyone to use the Hoover in the way that I use it, it won't work. Flexibility. Yeah? So it's always boundaries, very clear set up, and if the contract is long, from time to time, if things are not working, we sit down and we address it and see how we can do things better. Yeah? Then we move on here. The strong will then be the supporter and not be oppressor of the weak, and no longer will anyone lack what is needed, because all will practice the law of justice. My question here is, what do we understand about the law of justice? Do we have an idea?
Coming back a little bit to Ebenezer, they say the strong will then be the supporter and not the oppressor of the weak. And then I was thinking about that, because most of the time, when you think about stronger, the strongest is the one that's going to take the control of things. And not, because when they say they mutually help one another, they'll be the supporter. So as I know a little bit more than you, I will support you on your weaknesses. And the same way nowadays that we know that I can have like my strong enough in one side, and in the other side my weaknesses that can be the opposite way of someone else. So we can support each other, and then we can live in a society where we can tolerate more each other, because we realize about my weaknesses and the strength for the other, and we help each other. So I like it because we change the way that you see the strength and the weaknesses, and the strength to be to help others and not to dominate.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think it comes to the message we read in the beginning, that selfishness through the strong, it expresses itself through tyranny. I think the word tyranny may sound something very far away, but it could be when I want my opinion to be above everything, and I'm not able to hear any feedback, or I just don't accept anything done in a different way. And even when a weak or someone who maybe doesn't know to do anything, instead of acolher, instead of do it, I just complain about it.
Yeah, correct. Anything else? Then it carries on. My question wasn't answered. What do we understand about justice? I read the phrase again. The strong will then be the supporter and not the oppressor of the weak, and no longer will anyone lack what is needed, because all will practice the law of justice. So here within the line, are we reminded that it's not about only what I need, but also what others need? And then what do we understand about the law of justice? Justice. What reminds the word justice? No idea? Is it justice according to human's law or God's law? What differs? What differs from human justice and God's justice?
Our justice is still imperfect, but we know that God's justice is perfect and it is immutable, and it's the law of love, justice, and charity. So it's something that we didn't yet learn fully, but we will.
Okay, so would it be something around do unto others what you would like others to do you? Would that be? So in this living together in brotherhood, when we free ourselves from selfishness, it doesn't need to be only my way. I won't waste or lose my value as a divine being if I just go there and do what someone else should be doing, even if that is not my responsibility. But on the contrary, I will grow spiritually.
It's like when they say, no longer will anyone lack what is needed, because all will practice the law of justice. Just came in my mind one example. If I have a lot of money as resources from God given to me, I would not be able to live happy and only enjoying the money and what the money can give to me. Seeing people with in need, with like minimum necessities, without the minimum necessities, we're starving. So I would use the money to make those people a little bit better, because they say anyone lack what's needed. So would it be education, would it be food, would it be like society, would it be houses. I'm just not talking about that example that I just gave. It just came to my mind, but it can be anything.
What did you say?
No, it's named shelter.
Shelter, yes. Education, when we refer to education. This question here, no longer will anyone lack what is needed, because all will practice the law of justice. That will be the society of tomorrow. That is what Leon Denis always touches a lot about that. But we need to build them. And it's not building churches or building schools, but it's educating ourselves within the society and bringing some cooperation towards that way. The way that we are interacting in society, that is the society that we will be tomorrow. But that will be the society of tomorrow.
When you just talked, I was remembering about Italian guy that I mentioned last week, and I was thinking his words. He said, I realized that money was not enough. I need to give my life to this. And then I was starting thinking about to give the life, because I like to do whatever I can do to help those people, because to have a different type of life and to have like dignity, of having like a profession, to have like a place to study, to have food, to have like opportunity to live and to live in a dignity place. And then I was thinking about what you said, that you're going to be the society of tomorrow, because I could realize that it's not only for me, but my brother that's living next to me, they also need those opportunities that I might have in this existence.
We will be joining the tomorrow society according to how we are interacting in this society today. If you are living in a very selfish way, which is the topic that we are referring, just looking after my needs, just looking after my job, just after looking in that narrow-minded way, which is part of the porta larga, how do you say that? Which is part of being, again, finding pleasure in the how, I don't know how to translate, porta larga, which means be in the same wide door, precisely, thank you. And in that way, then I will, as the planet is going through the regeneration process, I will not be granted the possibility to be. But if I choose now to accept the invitation of Christ Jesus, who is our master, not anyone human, who is inviting us all to work towards the good of everyone, to use the resources of God for everyone, as more as we do it, more we are promoting ourselves to be in that society tomorrow. Because otherwise we don't have moral characters or elements to be in that society. Yeah? Is that making sense? And then this is the kingdom of good that the spirits are in charge of preparing. The spirits are in charge of preparing. How do we hear that? This is the kingdom of the good that the spirits are in charge of preparing.
There is a planning.
There is a planning and a great plan. Who is the master of the plan or the archetype? Jesus, yes. So although we may be confused within the material things as little children, distracted, but there is a huge plan with great workers, wise, lucid workers helping to promote this. And we can choose also to be one of those. Is that clear in the question? So let's move on then to the next question. Cynthia, would you like to read that for us, please?
What is the means for destroying selfishness?
What is this question about?
How can selfishness be destroyed?
Can we destroy selfishness?
I think we can.
We can. How do we do that?
By changing our habits.
Changing is destroying?
It will cease to exist, you know?
Yes, but is that destroying? I don't know. Let's see by the, again, little question, by the huge answer. We go through that. So let's go start. All of human imperfections, the most difficult to uproot is selfishness, because it is connected to the influence of matter from which human beings, still so close to their origin, have not been able to free themselves. Now, what comes to our minds regarding our understanding in this stage of evolution where we are? The enlightened beings say of all imperfections, so we have plenty, of course. The most difficult, this is why in the Spirit's book, in another question, they refer that the root of all vices is selfishness. Yeah? And how is the phrase coming to us? The most difficult to uproot is selfishness, because it is connected to the influence of matter from which human beings is still so close to their origin, have not been able to free themselves. What can we say about this? Or what are the Spirit's teachings here? Why are we still so influenced by matter?
They're saying because it's still so close to our origin.
What do we understand about our origin?
We're very materialistic, because if you take example God's laws, we have got a process of 0, that's going to be our starting point, up to 10, that's put in this way, intending to be perfect spirits as Jesus, to comprehend in total God's laws. So we are 0.5, what 1. We are very close to the beginning of our starting point. So we don't comprehend at all. Not at all. We comprehend a little bit all the understanding, all the knowledge, and all what means God's laws. And then it's easier to make wrong mistakes. It's easy to make wrong choices. It's easy to make mistakes. And then they say about selfishness, it's easier to me to make choices based on my selfishness than based on the God's laws. However, I'm saying it's easier because I'm closer to this, and I'm very, as they say, I'm very influenced by matter. However, it's not impossible for me to make that changes. And it's trying now to starting making different choices, and trying to understand a little bit more about God's laws and how it impacts my daily life, and how I can make those choices on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. What else?
What I was thinking is that we still see matter as what is real. So everything on earth, with some of us still, most of the, you would say here, most of the social organizations or education or laws. So we all, everything we do is around matter because we identify ourselves with matter still, without sometimes not even considering the existence of the soul. I think that's why it's still sometimes very difficult for us to walk through the selfishness.
So is that because we are now in connection with the matter?
No, I would say it's just because of our belief systems, I would say.
Is it to do with our many incarnations on earth, which we have been training ourselves in relation to matter? Yeah? So we condition ourselves. Now we are here and find it difficult to overcome. So why are we finding it difficult? Because we still, although we agreed in the spiritual world, we have been trained intellectually that we are immortal beings, that we are coming back to earth, to the school earth, once more for us to dematerialize ourselves. But once we are in the flesh, what will be our preferences? Matter. Everything but is transitory. Because that is what have we conditioned ourselves. So it's almost like ingrained within. And that is what we need to become aware now through self-knowledge, to know our tendencies and make efforts gradually to re-educate ourselves. Because we are all coming from a materialistic perspective. What differs here is the degree which we already were able to free ourselves or not. So the journey to come back is to spiritualize ourselves.
And then we can make the connection with the question that you said previously. Why do you still have to remember about what was? Because you have forgotten or have you ignored it?
Yes.
In our daily basis, on our experiences in life, we keep forgetting about what was and keep choosing matter and transitory.
Why? Because we still, let's say, are very immature spiritually, very ignorant, as it was said, and also we find it challenging to challenge our own pleasures on the sensorial level. Is it?
Our belief systems as well, isn't it?
Sorry?
Or we find difficult to overcome our belief systems.
I think Kardec will explain in the note because he says it's important to make efforts towards intelligence as well as moral development, and we're studying about moral perfection. So I think we still relate to with matter because of the lack of morality.
Precisely.
Understand.
Precisely. And I think when you said it is relevant for us because we have the two wings, the intellectual evolution and the moral, which is the emotional evolution. But when we refer the intellectual intelligence or intelligence, are we referring to knowledge on a cognitive level or are we deeper?
Oh, what do you mean about intelligence?
I
think that maybe
anything that helps us to expand the intellectual intelligence, as long as we don't get, let's say, hooked in pride and selfishness, because then we think we are the experts in the world, yeah? But we are just on Earth, and Earth is only a tiny bit in the universe, yeah? But yes, there is the need for all of us to become more intelligent, to develop the intelligence in order for us to understand even God's laws or the laws in the universe.
Even if we only study the laws of matter, we see that we are constantly discovering new laws.
Precisely.
And what we know is so little compared to what we really
That is quite inspiring. When we study about selfishness in a humble way, it takes some time, and then referring to what you said, realizing that actually what we learned and discovered, good for us, we achieved that level, but that is just the beginning where we are. Why can we say that with so much certainty? Because we as immortal beings, we are learning in a stage of a planet or a school of learning, trials and expiations, that is very primitive in the universe. So we have plenty to learn still in the universe. And there is not something to put ourselves down or to criticize ourselves in what we learned in whatever area it is. It is stimulating us. What you conquer helps you now to move forward to do the next understanding. And then moving on, it says, everything concurs to sustain its influence, your laws, your social organization, and your education. I think I need to read the first to make sense to this, yes? All human imperfections, the most difficult to uproot is selfishness, because it is connected to the influence of matter from which human beings, still so close to their origin, have not been able to free themselves. Everything concurs to sustain its influence, your laws, your social organizations, and your education. What do we learn here? Is that still happening as we are studying here? Is that still, can that be seen in the society? Very current in different countries, yes. So it's almost like helping us to understand why still is so ingrained, why we still are so ingrained in matter. Because we come back to new existences in the material reality, where the laws, where the social organizations, and even education is driven towards selfishness, isn't it? When we consider education, what is the major goal here? Is it help each other, forgive each other, be fraternal to each other? What is the role? Be the best one. Doesn't matter to what expenses, isn't it? So that is what we also sometimes go through, and helps us to understand that all of us, we came through because we needed to go to the school, we are in a society, we are under those social organizations, values that are prevailing, but now as adults, we are free to make choices, respecting them, but going beyond it. Yeah? Selfishness will be weakened with the predominance of the moral life over the material life, and especially with the understanding that Spiritism gives you concerning your true future state, which is no longer distorted by allegorical fictions. How is that coming to us? So they are giving us a means how to weaken and not to destroy.
It's interesting because if you take it to the action level, it's making sacrifices every single day to choose the moral life over the material life. Because then you start asking yourself, is it ethical? Is it moral? Should I be doing this? Or then you start making choices and maybe.
Yes, it is quite challenging, because quite often our internal challenges is when it comes for us to be more flexible or more cooperative, we, through centuries, always exercise our rights, and we didn't exercise our duties. We find it difficult to engage with the duty level onwards, because we still bring within that false reference that training in developing our duties, we become weak, especially when we have been very in a selfish and prideful way, isn't it? And actually it happens on the contrary. Anything else? When they say here, Spiritism gives you concerning your true future state. Who develops that? What is our true future state? Which refers, we are born, get on, learn, get a lot of money, you get married, you have your house, your car, or whatever, plenty of holidays, and then you die later on. No, here the future means that we already are spiritual beings. Through the reincarnation process, we are granted a new opportunity on earth, learning, spiritualizing ourselves, and sooner or later we are going back again to the spiritual reality. And everything that we conquer here in real values according to the natural life, we are taking with us, but we cannot take any material belongings with us. Is that okay? So we carry on, we have more information here. When it is well understood and identified with customs and beliefs, Spiritism will transform habits, usages, and social relations. What comes to our minds in that first phrase here from this paragraph? When it is well understood and identified with customs and beliefs. is that coming to our minds? My question is, when it is well understood and identified with customs and beliefs, by whom?
When they say well understood, is it related to the future state, the true future state? Because they say gives the concerning your true future state, which is no longer distorted by allegorical fictions. When it is well understood and identified, so are they talking about the future state, right?
In the present, when it is well understood and identified with customs and beliefs.
Yeah, when I understand that.
Because this is why I ask whom? As the spirits who are now in the flesh. We will not understand it fully because the progress is gradually. But how we understand it now, when they say understand and identified with customs, what does that mean? Identified with customs and beliefs. When that becomes a reality, is that making sense? Through our ways of being, through our habits, through the values in society, which are the extensions of the values of the individuals which belongs to that society.
I think obviously we learn here that Spiritism is not what is written in the books by Kardec, it's not just that. I think by learning that, if you learn and understand it well, it can make a certain. It's difficult to say because every single question or every single line of the answer or every single thing is too much. I mean, it could cause a huge impact.
Yes. I like always when I study Leon Denis in relation to education. He says always that on earth almost everything needs to be changed. The education still needs to be restructured. And when we study this question, we can see what that enlightened being already meant by that. But you are right. From that perspective, when we look, the society will be very different. We will be different there and then, but we are training ourselves here. As more as we just focus on our individual life, then we are missing much opportunities for us to train ourselves, to prepare ourselves for that reality. So as more as we engage in society and dedicate for the good of everyone, not with intense secondary gains, but just developing our psychic or a spiritual being as we are, conditioning ourselves, that becomes easier and easier and easier. We become more detached from the material things because we freely choose to value more what is not from earth, what is part of the future life.
When I was thinking about that, came to my mind as well Posthumous works, but Kardec talks about it in one of the chapters. I can't remember what chapter, the influence that the Spiritism could have.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. Yes, it's huge. So much so they say Spiritism will transform habits. It's not the Spiritism itself, but understanding that the Spiritism talks about the natural laws in the universe, that everyone on earth still will learn, comprehend, and choose to live as we go through the process of progress. Yeah? Because we individually, as beings in evolution, as we carry on developing our intellectual intelligence, our emotional intelligence, we naturally, let's say, awake within the natural laws that we bring, and we freely choose to be and to live our lives in a different way. Doesn't matter if other people are more focused on a matter level, but if we reach a certain level of openness, we choose to live it in a different way. And it's more each one opens up to that level, consciously speaking, more people will be doing the same. And that becomes the way which will predominate in the society in the future.
And I find it interesting because if you study social relations on Earth now, it never, well, from what I studied just a little bit, but it never comes back to the individual. It's always social relations and social institutions. It always talks about statistics, about data, what changes can be made, but it doesn't talk about things like selfishness. It could have a huge impact in social relations. I think that's also interesting.
I think we are moving towards that very timidly, But I think we are, because in the corporate world, gradually they are bringing in the, let's say, mindfulness and these kind of approaches which in the past never were there. What? Emotional intelligence, mindfulness, they are bringing into the corporate. That is already showing. Somehow, in some level, they are becoming aware that people are not it, but people are people. And they have limits, because when they bring in the approaches of mindfulness, they come to terms that people have limits and they need to also to receive support. So that is already a progress. And of course, it will just carry on gradually to progress more. And then, where was I? Selfishness is founded upon the importance of the personality. How do we understand that phrase? How could we reframe it according to our own understanding?
It's me above everything.
Me above everything, yes. When well understood, I repeat, Spiritism enables you to see things from such an evolved point of view that the sentiment of the personality somehow disappears, so to speak, before the immensity of it all. How do you understand it? Sounds quite philosophical and quite profound, the way it's said. When well understood, I repeat, Spiritism enables you to see things from such an evolved point of view that the sentiment of the personality somehow disappears. What do they mean by that? What comes to our minds? As beings who are learning to think, what is that about?
I think one will give less importance because we will understand that one existence, taking into consideration the life of the spirit, one existence is just like, I think Andromeda says 1 minute or 1 second.
So like a glimpse of eye.
Yeah, exactly. So there's not that we are not important as individualities, but not as personality in the sense that it's I don't know how to explain, in the sense that it's above everything, because it's just a short period of time that I'll be in this rest, and then it will change.
So it's not, when we look about the personality, it's not about me. When we, let's use the word that I say here, the personality disappears through this evolution process, then it becomes an internal reference, which is about us. Is that? You are right when I say, see things from such a evolved point of view that the sentiment of her personality disappears. Because from such a high point of view, what do we see from a higher point of view, beyond the personality? That we are all brothers and sisters in humanity. We are all evolving. We are all children of God. We have all been created by His love. We have all the laws within ourselves. Yeah? What else we see on that higher level?
We can ask ourselves, who are we? Because we had so many incarnations. Which one is too attached to a certain experience?
Precisely. From the higher point of view, we see we are not what we think we are, let's say. It may sound odd for those who love to be the right guys, yeah? But we are not what we think about. We are much more us in the stage where we are, because we have been going through several reincarnations, so we may have various aspects, tendencies hidden that we don't need, it's not present at present, but we are still in evolution. So the major point here is, let's try to look from a higher perspective as immortal beings who are essentially good, who are choosing to be good, who are choosing to do good, who are choosing to engage and move forward, and not to be lazy and holding back. And then they carry on saying, as we're coming almost to the end, upon destroying this self-importance, or at least showing it for what it is worth, Spiritism necessarily combats selfishness. How is that coming? How do we destroy this self-importance? Is it the same how we destroy paper? How we destroy boxes? What do they mean here? Upon destroying this self-importance. would I be right in saying in renewing our values, in renewing our habits, in renewing our ways of being? Is that the way? Because we cannot take something out of our psyche, but we can reintegrate it. And in that way, when we choose the new way of being as we are learning and focus on that, we are reintegrated, or because this is the one which the self, the essence of us is choosing to. In that way, the other one needs to obey. The self guides the ego's values, and we reintegrate them. Okay? So we're coming to the end and today of our study. And as always, we close it with our prayer. In these final moments of this unique and special experiences in our existences, as immortal beings as we all are, ourselves and all of those in the Spirit who are here with us, let's say thanks to God our Father, the creator of everything and everyone in the universe, for allowing us once more to be reincarnated on earth, for allowing all of us to be here today studying and reflecting about the laws in the universe, for allowing us once more to work together as learners of goodness. We also give thanks to the enlightened beings who have been with us and always are, even before we arrive here, preparing the ambient, assisting us and assisting others which they help to bring here, so that we all, in this Spiritist Center, in this house of prayer, are gathering for the same reason, which is to enlighten our hearts and minds, which is to choose to become better today as we were yesterday, and tomorrow better than today, which is to help us who we really are, immortal beings created by God with love, in order for us to learn to love ourselves, to love others, to love life, to enjoy every experience that life presents us, to expand our hearts and minds towards goodness, towards developing the virtues within and around us. And in that way, we ask the blessings of the enlightened beings towards every and each one of us here. May the blessings of their peace follow up on each one of us. And may Jesus bless us with his tenderness, with his gentleness, and with his kindness. And in that way, we close our meeting today. So be it.